here is part 2 of the balustrade project. This is a long one, and my advice to you is to skim through it, fast forward through sections. It's a bit of a torture. I debated about even putting this video up. I was really, I found the angles, some of these angles really complicated and difficult to deal with, and I can't say that I came out of it feeling like, okay, I have now learned how to do this and can pass on my words of wisdom. I feel like the next time I have to deal with angles like this, I'm going to struggle all over again and be making it up from scratch again. So, you know, if you watch this video, fast forward, skip over things. It's long and it's a little bit awful in places, but the balustrades are done. I've gotten a hold of a few more pieces of this. I still need a lot more. I'm debating about how or where to get it. DHL is still bugging me about my shipment. They haven't returned it, even though I told them I was refusing it, and they're still bugging me for payment on it. And I'm debating about just scraping up the money and paying those duties and going ahead with the order and just writing it up as a big mistake and a loss, and I'll know better the next time. I don't know. But I did get a few pieces of this from a shop on Etsy, so I could continue a little bit more, and I've got one coat of paint on them, and I don't think you can probably see this very well on camera, but what happens with this kind of wood when you put the first coat of paint on is that it sort of seems to raise the grain, that upside down, and everything becomes a little bit fuzzy and bumpy. And so now what I'm doing is the very tedious, very annoying process of sanding this all down with a fine grade paper, to try to get as much of that bumpy stuff off as I can without completely wearing down my paint. So again, this is something that, you don't need to watch me do this for an hour, because it would probably take me that long to do these 3 pieces. But that's where I'm at with the next phase of this project. Now that I've sanded these as much as I have patience for, I'm going to give them a really good dust off with just an old paintbrush, clean brush, but old. And then to make sure that my surface is clean, I've got this. This is actually meant for cars, I guess, for use in cars, to just do, quick vacuums in your crumbs in the seat of your car or something. But cleans up my surface really well so that I won't get any of that sanding dust in my paint. So the next thing I'm going to do is the second coat of paint on these. I like to keep a little bit of paint in a small jelly jar. Convenient size container to work out of, and it just exposes only a small amount of paint to air at a time, and then I can refill this from my bigger can of paint. This is actually just the same Behr paint, B-E-H-R, I think you get that at Home Depot, that I use on the trim in my real house, and I just have a small can of it for touch-ups and things like that, and I'm using it to do the white trim in my dollhouse. So round 2. Second coat makes things look a lot better. So this is Fussy Detail. It'll take me a long time again to get through all of this. it does seem like the second coat goes on much easier than that first coat. The first coat sort of acts like a primer. And I've never actually tried priming this wood. I've come across things, I don't remember where, that said, you know, you don't need to prime them. And I thought maybe sometime I might try priming and painting a scrap piece and just see how it behaves and whether the primer also raises the grain and roughs it up the way the paint does, and does the paint take any better or worse if I use primer. So that's a little experiment I might do on a scrap piece at some point, just to see if you know, I agree with that piece of advice I heard somewhere, that you shouldn't bother to use primer on this kind of wood. And I don't know what this wood is exactly. It seems like it might be basswood or something like that, like what I use for builds, furniture builds and things like that. So you know, it's not nothing super hard, super dense, and it really really soaks up that first layer of paint, just like pouring water into a desert or something. It just absorbs it so quickly. Alright, so I'll continue on with that and get back to you with the next step. Now those pieces have dried, and I did get a few more pieces that I've been painting, as you've seen, and I'm going to start the section on this side of the dollhouse, which has things stacked on top of it that shouldn't be there, but that's okay. And the way I'm going to do that is take this piece and flip it over. So and create basically a mirror image of that. So this is now upside down. And I'll take these pieces and match the cuts that I made. What I do have to be careful of is this end where the base is a little closer to the post than the top because of the slant of the roof that this sits against. So I have to make sure that I also reverse that. And then just to make sure that that's really precise, I'm going to measure. I'm going to measure both sides of this piece. Exactly 13. It's a little, yeah, it's a good thing I checked because I would have been a little too short on this one. And then this piece, oops. And because I'm really nervous about this, I'm going to actually go hold that up on the roof that it's going to go on and make sure that I really have it going in the right direction. And I do. Measure 2, 3, 10, 12, 14 times and then cut. Yeah. If I etch that line first. Can't get it perfectly straight this way, so try with the ruler. So this is a nice sharp metal tip here. It's a scribe tool, and by giving myself a little etched in line there, now when I go take my saw to it, my saw has something to fit into, which will keep it on track. I just have to go really slowly the first few passes to make sure that I don't get off track. Actually turn this so I can get a better angle here. Trying to see if I can get that post out. There we go. Oh. This is the template piece that I made last time that has the angles exactly as I need them. Let's get my my starting point. I really feel like there has to be a better way to do this, and I just don't know what it is. And I'm sure that somebody out there is just watching me do this and is absolutely horrified. But I guess my point is, you can get there in the end, even if you're not doing it the way the experts would do it. And I'm no expert. So that's my first piece. Next piece I need to cut is this one. And I wanted to see if I could use this scrap piece that I have left from another one to cut that corner piece, and it's just like an eighth or slightly over an eighth of an inch too short, unfortunately. So I'm going to use this piece. This is the one I remember. If I think I showed you this before, where one of the posts was put in upside down. I think my battery's about to die, so let me change the battery. So I have this piece that has the upside down post, so I'm going to use one end of this, since I can't use it as a whole length anyway. And match that up. Use my template to make sure I get a good clean line. That's that first corner. To match this one. But it's actually a mirror image because this is how this one goes when it's upright. Okay, we will continue. So I'm just going to cut an angle at the end of this one. Cut off that first pillar and just do the angle right at the end here, and then I will adjust the other end after I've got this, more or less, after I've got this corner dealt with, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I need my template. This one has to go this way. And I want to see where's my post is. Now on this one, I remember that I had to cut the corner. Oops, you can see that. I had to cut the just a teeny corner off the post right there. So I'm setting this one the same way. I can't go to the very end of this and just cut off the corner, because that would actually cut this post about in half, and I think that would just look ridiculous. You can't even see that, sorry. That would cut this post about in half. So I'm going to cut just the corner off of the next post. Oh, but I need to make sure the post at the other end works out okay. So yeah, I have to match the posts up exactly on this one. So I remember that, okay, you can see here what I did was I left the bottom, the top actually, because this is upside down. Let's turn it back upside right. I left the lip on the top, and I brought the bottom piece in right up to the base of the pillar. So let me do that first. Oh, this is so complicated. Okay, so I need the base here cut. And I can just do that right up again. I'm going to put that one in the miter box. gonna go check this against my roof. I'm not gonna bring the camera over there because that's a lot just to check this angle. All right, that works. Now, I have this one with, this one is upside down. This is my old one. This one's upside down. Because remember, I'm trying to do a mirror image. And then this one is upside. Okay. This one has to go upside right. That means that these don't line up. I want to line up the posts, not these ends, because they have to be the opposite of each other. So I'm lining up my posts. All the way along. I'm going to put a little ruler in here to just... Yeah, I'm just making sure that these posts are right lined up against each other here so that this is really accurate. Okay. Then I know I wanted my angle to go that way. So this one has to start here. And measure that and make sure that that lines up with the top. Okay. So that one is should be 25 millimeters. Okay, I'm off quite a bit, so I better check that. It's actually more like 24 millimeters. Line up my posts again. I'm just measuring every possible thing that I can measure. I don't think a 1/16 of an inch is going to really make a difference in the grand scheme of things, but I don't want to mess this up either. Template, there's my scribe tool. Do have to be very careful to keep this saw in a perfect upright upright position, not let it slant off to one side or the other. And I'm probably not doing it perfectly, but as much as possible. Right. Okay. So here's this one, and then this one should be a mirror image of that. And that worked. I'm kind of in disbelief. I figured I'd mess that up for sure somewhere. Was really kind of making my brain hurt to make sure I didn't mess this up. So I'm now going to glue these pieces to each other, tape them, and then I still have one more long piece here and a few scrap pieces, so I may be able to finish this edge of one side, and then that's all I have, and I'll have to wait and see if I get any answer from DHL about the rest of my shipment, or about my shipment, or if I have to order the rest of these from Miniature Crush or some other source. Okay, so I think that's it for today. I'm gonna glue. If I do get to finishing the third side of this piece, then I'll record some of that, but otherwise that's where I'm going to leave it for the moment. Alright, I want to see if I can get a little more done on this side. So I have this piece in place, I think, where I want it. Get some better light here. What I want to check is to make sure that this is pretty straight to the edge. Okay. That looks straight. Let me make sure the other side looks straight. And it's not perfect, but it's really close. I think that it works. Maybe want to go this way a little bit. Yeah, that's better. So this rim all around is about the same. This rim is bigger than I remembered making it, but I think I like it. So when I talk about the rim, what I'm talking about is the part that's on the outside of the railing. So then, all right, so I can't make the rim quite as big on this side, I don't think. I'd have to cut, I'd have to have some overhanging here. Do I want that? Actually, no, I think I'm going to bring it a little bit forward in the front. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this pillar right here, cut off just at the end of it, and then line this next piece up with that. So it will make my border a little bit narrower in the front, but I think if they match on both sides, that's going to be fine. I don't really see any problem with that. Now this piece is not lining up square against the other one, and if I look at this, none of these pieces have been perfect. The base here is a little bit smaller than the overhang up here, so I'm going to have to sand that down or level it down a little bit. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is cut this right at the edge of the pillar. So I'm going to go do that. I don't know when my camera turned off, so I don't know what I missed. I'm just adjusting the edges of these two overhangs on the end of this piece were not even, so I'm just making some slight adjustment to make sure that they line up flush against this piece. So I cut the longer one down, and I think I just want to sand that longer one a teeny bit more. So that's what I'm going to do next. That's a good fit now. So this one I will cut at the end of this post right here. So I want to cut 3 posts off, and then I got to turn a corner, but it's a nice 90-degree corner. No more of these crazy ones. Yay! I'm not bothering to miter the corners on these 90-degree angles. I don't think it's really necessary for this, since I do plan to put some kind of a bead or globe or something on each of these corners. I think whether they were mitered or not wasn't really going to make any difference. Is this piece big enough to use here? Almost. Yeah, look at that. Really close. I don't know. It's a bit small. Oh wait, that's not at the right angle though. Straighten that out. Yeah, look at that. I think that works. I mean, it doesn't go right up flush against the roof, but do I want it to? You know what? I think I'm going to have to do it that way, because if I tried to get it flush up against this wall right here, let me zoom in there a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. So this piece is what I just cut off of the front railing, and it fits in there pretty nicely. It doesn't quite meet this wall right here, but if I were to cut a piece to meet this wall, I'd have to cut through the middle, or like a third of the way through a post. And I don't think that would look very good, so well, maybe Oh, no, wait, I didn't have that at the right angle. Good thing I checked that. Yeah, there we go. So I do want a bigger piece because I can get one more post in there, I think. So I need one of these with 4 posts, not 3. Let's see if I can do that. Looks good. Might be a little bit too big. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit too big, so it doesn't look good. Doesn't fit quite right. But I think I can cut a little bit off of here. I'll have posts that are really close together there. Yeah, there's just no way to make these corners perfect, I don't think. You know, the spacing of the posts just doesn't allow you to have perfect corners. But I do want to take a little bit off of there because this piece is not, this one right here is not sitting straight right now. So that piece is right there. Wow. Might have to go back to the 3-post thing because I would have to cut off. Let's try it. Let's try cutting off a 1/4 inch and see what happens. Okay. That works. Got posts that are really close together right here, but I think it's fine. I think it works. All right, so I have these to glue now. And I have the 3 pieces that I cut for the other side to glue. And then I don't have enough long pieces. I have no long pieces left, so I can't do this front section of the other side until I get more in. I have lots of little scrap pieces, so I might be able to do up there, on that roof piece right up there. I might be able to do that with the scraps that I have left. Let's see. Just looking over there. I'm not even sure I have enough for that, but I might be able to. I'll have to see. So I guess this project is, other than gluing here, this project is kind of stuck until I get some more balustrades, which just depends on the whole issue with the duties or the tariffs. At this point, I think that I'm probably going to order more of these pieces from Miniature Crush and suck it up and pay the full price for them. I don't mind giving Miniature Crush my business. They're a great company, great store, so I'm happy to do business with them. It's just that if I actually end up getting my other pieces from the wholesaler in the UK, then I've got those and I've got nothing to do with them. But like I said, I can list them in my shop and sell them. So, okay, so I'm gonna glue and I guess order some more pieces and do more sanding and painting. I'd love to see this video get posted sometime in June and not next September. It feels like this one's taking me forever, but we'll just keep plugging away at it. All right, I'll be back. I've got just a little bit of this left, this trim, and so I've been trying to work out how to deal with this bump out here. You can see the angle if I hold it there. And I didn't do this on camera. I probably should have, but what I ended up doing was cutting a square or a 90-degree angle out of this end to wrap around this corner of the house. And it is by no means perfect. I cut that out using my miter saw. I just held it by hand and just went very slowly at first. And then I was trying to figure out how to do this angle, and finally realized that I had a sharp point here left over from another cut. This piece right here came out to a sharp point, and I was trying to figure out how to join these, what angle to join these two pieces at, and then it occurred to me if I cut the point off, never mind my pencil marks, they were for something else, that this would work out okay. So that's the only pieces I have left now are too small for me to finish this last bit over here. I'll be cutting this probably to here, and then putting one more piece there. Not sure how I'm gonna end it here. Probably cut that at an angle and get it somewhat flush up against the roof there. Okay. So that's the plan. I'm gonna glue these two pieces together. No, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until I get some more so that I can make sure that I have the right, that I have this where I want it to meet up with the other piece. That I don't need to move the post, you know, move this cut over this way in any direction. Really complicated doing these angles. Now for this corner, if I do the angle exactly like I did that one over there, I'm going to have these two posts really close to each other. So I think what I need to do is try to get this one out of here without breaking the whole thing, and then I can cut an angle somewhere in this space that will work. Now what I've got here is a paper template that I made of the roof surface so that it's easier for me to work on and try to figure out where to cut everything. I was able to get that piece out of here, the post out of here. I sawed it in half and then it snapped out. And then this angle I copied from the other side. Just flipped it over and did it reverse. But the problem is that I did a really terrible job cutting this piece, and it's not at all square. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to recut this one and use this for a smaller area. I've got pencil marks on my template to show where these pieces are supposed to sit. Okay. So recut this piece. So this angle matches that one. I do have to cut off the tip. I'll get to that. Okay. Now I'm not sure how this end is going to sit up against the house, so for now, I'm not even showing you that part. I don't know how this part's going to sit up against the roof. But if I cut the bottom here diagonally across this square that lines up with my template, it's this top bit that I think has to be just a little bit longer. So hopefully I'm not wasting a piece here when I cut this. So the blade is bumping up against the base of this post and the base of the post on the other side, and that's actually conveniently giving me the angle that I believe I need, if I'm doing this right. So I'm just making sure to like put the pressure on the saw so that it stays at that angle. Now I know that my roof slants. If you can imagine, this is up against the roof and the roof slants. It's not a straight up and down roof, it slants that way for the attic room. So this piece needs to be longer, I know that much. What I'm going to do is cut off here so I can get rid of that post and then snap this post out, and then I'll get my exact measurement. Alright, so here's my situation now. Everything looks good. I do need to get this point off. That's easy enough to do. I don't know what to do here. This sits up against the base of the roof very nicely, but then I've got this that just sort of sticks out awkwardly. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is cut it this way so that it sort of meets this corner of the roof back here, because it looks silly just sticking out over it. And I think if I just cut it square to meet, then I've got this weird corner sticking out. You can see that, angle it that way so that it follows the line of the house. I think that would probably look the best. We're getting closer. This one is still too close to the edge here. I like the way these are sitting. I like where they're sitting. It's about, I don't know, quarter inch, a little bit more than a quarter inch back from the edge of the roof. But this one's being forced forward. And the reason it's being forced forward, I think, is that this piece is a little too long. So I'm gonna try, it's just, this one's now not long enough because this should come as far forward as that one. So I've goofed that piece up. And it's my middle section that I need to make fit. Okay, so the angles are right on this piece, but this needs to be longer here. So I've again wasted another piece. Ugh, this stuff is so expensive too. I'm gonna have to get some more of it. This is just this beast. This roof piece right here is just giving me so much grief. I cannot get it straight. I probably should have done, you know, I can look at it now and say, oh, well, I should have done the side pieces first and then made this fit in the middle. That's really what I should have done. Okay, so let me see how much longer of a piece I need here. See the big gap right there. So I measure 13 centimeters that this cut needs to be further back. I'm not sure what to do with this one. I know that's going to need to go further back too, but I need to cut the bottom first. So here we go. Wasted another piece. All right, I've recut this piece over here and trimmed down this piece so that it fits between these. Now I have really, doesn't look as bad on camera, but I see these two posts right here really close together and these two are really close together, which I was trying to avoid that. There was no way around it. But since it came out that they're both close, both joins are close together like that, so it's balanced, I don't mind it. Now, this does sit up against the roof, but I think I'm going to just trim it right there to square it off. I need to square off this one. Up here, I have a situation where I have gaps here and here. Meets up really nicely at the bottom, doesn't meet up nicely at the top. I'm sure that's my cutting error, but I don't want to waste any more of this stuff. I really don't want to have to fuss with cutting it anymore and trying to figure out why my tops and bottoms don't match. So I'm going to totally cheat and put shims in here and some wood filler to make these join up, and then just really paint it, sand it down smooth and really paint it all over again so that hopefully these are not obvious patch jobs right here, but I can't waste any more of this stuff. So yeah, so I'm totally gonna cheat on that. Do you cheat on your dollhouses? On your builds? Someone was saying to me yesterday that I should, you know, build design kits or build kits and sell them built for people to decorate. Sorry about that. I got a long way to go before I can do that. Okay, so I think I've made a decision. I did get someone to weigh in on this. The house is intended to have balustrades. These are too long, obviously, but these are the two pieces that I have left. It's intended to have balustrades up here. Okay. I have put the additions on my house on both sides. Most people don't do that, but, you know, I go for overkill. So I've worked out my balustrades for here, which I like, and there. And now I'm down to my, and I've got it here. Now I'm down to these last two pieces. Now, as you remember, these were pieces that I was getting from my UK wholesaler, and I can't do that anymore because of the whole tariff situation. I did find some in the US, and I bought several so that I could continue this project. I'm now at the point, partly because I messed up on a few pieces, but also just like the way they trimmed out, where I knew I would probably need a few more, but at the time that I bought these, my next batch and paid full price for them, it looked like there were still quite a few around, and I was kind of keeping an eye on it because I was afraid they'd disappear fast. And that's exactly what happened. The place that I got these from has 4 left, which is exactly what I would need to finish the top there if I don't screw anything up. And I probably wouldn't because it's square. Okay. So I think I could, you know, there's no wacky angles to deal with. It does hit a little funny right there. See that? So, you know, I don't know. I kind of don't love that situation right there. You see how it's like, it's a little bit raised. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's raised a little bit above this roof right here. So I don't love that situation. So I need to do 4 more of these. The other thing that's happened, which I was afraid would happen, is the price on the remaining ones from the 2 places in the US I can find that have any at all has gone through the roof. So to get 4 pieces to finish this up is going to cost me more than $100. This is why I like to buy all my materials before I do something, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to get into a situation where all of a sudden nobody has any and I'm partway through a project and I can't finish it. And I was really gambling on being able to get these. But, you know, I started out with a situation where, okay, there's lots of them. The wholesaler has them. There's several people have them on Etsy and other miniature stores, retail stores, and, you know, in the US have them, and I thought I could get plenty. Now I can't without spending a lot of money. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I do feel like with these up here, it looks a little busy. I'm not sure that I actually really love those up there. So I'm thinking of not using them. Okay. Unfortunately, I've already painted them, so I can't sell them. I am thinking of putting one piece right there, which I think sort of balances it out. And then leaving those 2 top roof, right and left roofs plain. So this is where I think I'm going with this. Okay. Yeah. I keep looking at this and I keep thinking, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to leave this. So I did finish gluing that one together. That one I had needed more pieces for. So that side's glued together, this side's glued together. That's why there's tape here that's glued together. There's some tape there because that's glued together. So then I need to actually glue them onto the roof. I am going to hold off on that for one reason, and that is that I've decided I want chimneys. I want a chimney here and a matching one on the other side, and I don't want these in my way when I'm trying to fuss with chimneys, so I'm not actually going to glue them to the house yet. Okay. Alright, so contrary to what I first said I was going to do, I have glued down all the rest of the balustrades, and they're weighted down with books and cans of things. I had said that I was not going to do this initially because I wanted to not have them in my way when I did chimneys. I don't think they'll be in my way that bad, and I want them there. They're just going to get kicked around and knocked around if they're not glued down. And I want the outside of the house as finished as possible before I move to the inside of the house. And other than touching up the paint here, all around, I did do some sanding and some wood filling and, you know, on all of these pieces before I glued them down. So the last thing I'm going to do out here is touch up some paint. I also want to touch up, I don't know if you can see this right here, but some of my paint lines are kind of not that great. So I'm going to take a detail brush and kind of clean those up. I did tape things, but I don't know, taping never works for me. I don't know what I do wrong, but whenever I tape painting, I actually do worse than if I just paint. Yeah, so I need to touch up the blue paint just a little bit, and the white paint I'm going to touch up. And then I am going to move to the inside of this poor, disastrous dollhouse. I am a little overwhelmed by this right now. So the reason that I decided not to do the chimneys, I think I know how I'm going to do them, but I didn't want to put them on and be committed to the location and then find out when I got to the rooms that I'm going to have fireplaces in that the chimneys didn't really work the way I wanted them to. So I'm going to make sure that I do want to put the fireplaces where I think I want to put them, and then I will put the chimneys up. So, yeah. So all of this is just sort of storage space right now for various pieces of things that I've been buying and trying out and playing with, but I'm going to try to get them done. So I have 3 rooms wallpapered besides this bathroom right here. There are a few little more details that I want to do in this bathroom. not in a hurry to do them right now. Those will be things that I'll just kind of do as I find them. This is going to be an older daughter's bedroom. This is going to be the housekeeper's room. And this is going to be where the grandparents live. And so I need to finish the other window in the grandparents' room. And I need to think about a doorway. A door for the room. And this right here is going to be a hallway to the upstairs, and this is going to be a bathroom. Another hallway. I hate wasting two levels of two areas on the second floor for hallways, but when I kit bashed this, I just really couldn't figure out how to get a bathroom onto the third floor without having the hallway in two different places. If I had kept the hallway over here for both the first and second floors, I would have ended up blocking one of the two doorways here with the stairs, so that wasn't going to work. Yeah, so you know, so none of the layout of this is perfect, but that kind of works for me with this house, because I'm imagining this house as something old that's been adapted over the years and brought it up to where we're going to be kind of in the late 1920s. I think I've mentioned this a few times now. And any of the old houses that I've been in had weird things where, like, there was a room behind a room and the only way to get to that other room was through a room. You know, there might be two bedrooms and there's only one doorway off of the hall into the first bedroom, and then you have to go first through the first bedroom into the second bedroom. And I think that when you're dealing with a really old house in real life, you often have these sort of weird little arrangements of rooms that were kind of like adapted over the years or added on, or somebody was like, we really want a bathroom with running water. Where are we going to put this bathroom? And they just kind of make it do. So, right up here I have, so there's a hallway here. The stairs are going to come up here. Here's the maid's room. What I'm imagining a wall here, okay, for her room. Although I did bring the wallpaper out here, but remember that you don't have the walls in the front of the house, right? So I'm imagining that this hallway does go in the front of her room, but then you have to go through the bathroom to get to the older daughter's room, and that's a really awkward setup. I was thinking, later that what I really should have done was stopped the wainscoting there. And maybe put like some trim here or something, stop the trim there, put a board or something across the ceiling to kind of like indicate the end of the bathroom, and kept this to be a hall, but it's not going to happen now. And maybe the architect of this whole thing would have planned better than I did. But it's a little awkward, but that's just the way it is. And the older daughter wanted her own room, and the family said, well, there's this room up here in the attic. We could kind of like convert it into a bedroom for you, and we won't, we'll clear it out and get the stuff out, and we'll make it into a bedroom for you, and you can have your own bedroom. And so that's what I imagine happens. And she's like, well, it's not the worst thing in the world that I have to walk through the bathroom to get to my bedroom. The housekeeper is not going to be in it that much or whatever, and the housekeeper's been with them forever. Their family, they all get along fine. Yeah, so these are the stories I tell myself about the house. So I think that when I move into the inside of this house, I will start with this window right here. I need to finish the trim on this window, painting that window. And the door, and then I need to do the floor in this bedroom. Now these two floors were done with popsicle sticks, and that was pretty cool, but I have seen wood flooring, unfinished wood flooring strips, pre-cut strips that you can buy, and I'm really seriously thinking about trying those out, because it looks like it would be a big time saver, and I can still stain them any color I like and cut them and arrange them any way I like. So I think I'll do that. So probably the next project, and I gotta get that light to stick up there, is the window and the floor in here. And And I guess my remaining question is kind of how much decorating do I want to do in each room, or do I want to kind of, you know, not worry too. I think I don't want to worry too much about like where all the little bits and the furnishings go in all of these rooms, because as I'm working in the rooms, things are going to get knocked over again. So I may go through and kind of like collect photos, inspiration photos, but then go through and paper everything, do the trim, do the floor, and just kind of do that room by room. And then I can start actually furnishing and figuring out where everything's going to go. One concern I have is that, so I used this copper wire system for my electricity, and I'm a little worried because I have since heard that glue and things can corrode those, and I did not, I don't think that I avoided the copper tape when I put the wallpaper paste up in these rooms, so yeah. So I will certainly avoid them going forward, but I may find someday that I have to strip down some of these rooms and redo them and redo the wiring, and I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that I had the sense not to put the glue on the copper wire, but I kind of don't think I did, because it seemed to me that oh there's tape on it, there's like a protective coating on it, it should be fine. And there is kind of a protective coating on it, but I guess the glues, from what I hear, can deteriorate that, so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So I'm excited to get to the inside, because I think, you know, that's when you get with all the colors and the wallpapers and the fun things. Also a lot of trim in windows, which is a bit tedious. But also I really stink at interior decoration in real life, and you know, I'm not sure that it's any less daunting than Dollhouse World. We shall see. I'm going to need to collect a lot of photos for inspiration. Okay, so that's the end of the Balustrades project. I didn't put you through me painting. I think you know what painting looks like, but I did get all of these joins filled with some wood filler and sanded everything that needed to be sanded, and then did my final coat of paint. I have also done the touch-up painting that I mentioned in this video around these edges where I felt like my lines weren't very clean. So that is all done, and I am prepared to move into the inside of this dollhouse and start working on some of the really fun stuff in the rooms inside. As I've mentioned before, the windows are not done and the front door is not done. I will be doing the windows as I do the rooms. So when I finish a room, after I've papered the inside or put whatever, you know, finish I'm going to do on the walls, after that is when I prefer to put the windows on. When I do the windows on the inside, I will also, of course, include the outside trim for the windows. The windows are actually a bit tedious to do as well, so I don't want to try to do all of them at once. I would probably just run screaming off the edge of a tall pier or something. But I can, you know, I have obviously done them, and doing one or two at a time is not too awful. So so anyway, thank you for coming along on this really difficult process of trying to figure out these balustrades. I hope if you're doing something like this, you've got some better advice than I can give you, and that you can get through it a little more easily. Other than that, I hope you get some good dollhouse therapy this week. Take care. Bye.